It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about
she's gonna die.
true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can't.
Imagine for Disney's Snow White, a movie that was projected, projections kept going down and down and down into this weekend. Finally, the final tally was 45 to 55 million domestically and over $100 million worldwide. Well, here's the result. Box office, Snow White leads with sleepy 43 million.
Neither of them make any sense for their roles. We've already covered how Rachel Zegler is a terrible choice for Snow White. Nothing about her says Snow White, and that's even leaving aside the fact that she openly detests the story, as she's said many times during this disastrous PR campaign. But Gal Gadot, who plays the Queen, the first problem is that she's the evil queen. The evil queen is supposed to be envious of Snow White's beauty, and that is just not believable. It is just not, even in a movie with magical mirrors and dwarves and all that, in a fairy tale, that strains my ability to suspend disbelief. I cannot buy that Gal Gadot is angry that she's not as beautiful as Rachel Zegler. I cannot buy that. Now for Disney, as you probably remember, all of this publicity, the Zegler interviews, the Daily Mail leak, caused a lot of unexpected, for them anyway, pre-production problems. People weren't supposed to see and understand just how unwatchable the new Snow White was going to be. It was supposed to be, kind of a surprise, but now there was no hiding it.
Rachel Zegler was supposed to be Disney's golden girl, the face of a new era, a breakout star, handpicked by Steven Spielberg, praised by critics, and positioned as the next big thing in Hollywood. She had everything going for her, but in the blink of an eye, that dream unraveled fast.
I came back, the losses were around $4 billion a year.
Well, I know this point has been made, but this truly is the worst casting, maybe in the history of the film industry. Has there been a film with worse casting than this? And I don't just mean the Snow White actress, obviously she's terrible, but both of them.
Her casting as Snow White was meant to be her big moment, a career-defining role in one of the most iconic fairy tales of all time. But instead of superstardom, what followed was backlash, controversy, and a full-blown PR nightmare. And now, she's at the center of one of the biggest box office disasters in Disney history. So what happened? How did The Chosen One become Hollywood's cautionary tale? Let's break it down.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
What's really interesting about this is not that this is something new. Rachel Zegler has been doing this for a very long time.
Just a few years ago, Rachel Zegler was a fresh-faced newcomer with all the momentum in the world. Spielberg cast her as Maria in West Side Story after a nationwide talent search. Critics loved her. The press called her the next big thing. She was charming, relatable, and brought a breath of fresh air to an industry desperate for new talent. Disney took notice. Not long after her breakout, she landed the lead in their live-action Snow White remake. For a studio obsessed with legacy and image, this was a big move. They weren't just casting a lead, they were handing over a legacy. It was supposed to be a slam dunk, but from the start things felt off.
I know that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Rachel Zegler has been described as a walking PR disaster for Disney.
Rachel's interviews didn't land the way Disney probably hoped. Instead of building excitement for the project, she started drawing heat for her comments. She didn't just say the new Snow White would be different, she said the original was outdated. She called the 1937 version regressive, and said her character wouldn't be dreaming of love or waiting for a prince. Instead, Snow White would be a leader. While that messaging might have sounded empowering in a boardroom, online, it sparked outrage. Fans felt like she was attacking a beloved classic. And it wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it. There was a tone. Dismissive. Almost like she was talking down to the very audience Disney was trying to win over. People weren't mad just because the story was changing. They were mad because it felt like they were being told their childhood favorites were wrong. And Rachel became the face of that message.
This is truly, She has to go. I'm sorry, Disney. She has to go.
Now, one thing about Rachel Zegler is that we know that she's not helping at all one bit.
But these guys at Disney, they're not that bright, they're not that smart, and we see that because they can't come up with any new IP. Why not write some new movies? You guys sit around, you have billions of dollars. They keep going back and rewriting the classics.
This is someone who is as entitled as, I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White. Right. You should shut up and do the...
As the press tour ramped up, the messaging got even bolder. Zegler began describing Snow White as a film that would fight prejudice and challenge outdated values. She positioned it as a tool for racial justice, a symbol of progress, and a rejection of fairy tales as we know them. On paper, that might seem like a bold, even noble direction. But the reaction? Total chaos. Audiences didn't want to be lectured. They wanted magic, nostalgia, a sense of wonder. What they got instead was a political message wrapped in a children's story. And here's the thing. Once you politicize a fairy tale, you invite controversy. Suddenly, Snow White wasn't just a movie. It was a battleground in the culture war. Zegler, whether she wanted to be or not, became a lightning rod.
It says Rachel Zegler says Disney's Snow White will help fight prejudice and race division in magazine interview that once more ties Disney film into her personal politics.
As if the controversy around the tone wasn't enough, then came the dwarves, or the lack of them. In an effort to avoid stereotypes, Disney removed the 7 dwarves altogether and replaced them with a bizarre group of magical creatures. Fans were stunned. The dwarves weren't just side characters. They were the iconic part of the story. The replacements? A chaotic mix of CGI misfires and background characters with no real identity. Critics called them dirty hippies. Audiences called them unwatchable. What was supposed to be a progressive move came off as confused and hollow. This wasn't just a creative update. It was a gut punch to everything people loved about the original. The backlash was instant, loud, and relentless.
Controversy has swirled around Gal Gadot's new movie, also starring Rachel Zegler as Snow White. A lot of people don't like her. A lot of people don't like her either. She's got a big mouth. She talked trash about the original movie. But I think the movie bombed because it's bad. Those CGI little people.
With the film already under fire, Zegler's public image took another hit, this time from her own words. Instead of softening her tone, she doubled down. Every interview felt more disconnected. And then came the infamous winged victory speech. In an emotional monologue, Rachel compared herself to a broken statue in the Louvre. The winged victory came in pieces, she said, and people still line up to see her. It was poetic, dramatic, and totally misread the room. The internet exploded. Memes flooded social media. TikTok edits turned the speech into a viral punchline. People weren't inspired, they were cringing. What could have been a moment of vulnerability turned into a theater kit performance gone wrong. And just like that, Zegler went from rising star to walking PR disaster.
According to Zegler, Snow White isn't just about fairy tales, it's a tool to promote acceptance and discourage societal prejudice. Her comments come amid months of controversy surrounding the film and once again shine a spotlight on Rachel Zegler's race and how Hollywood frames diversity.
Despite the marketing push, despite the press coverage, despite the controversy, Snow White flopped hard. It opened with just $43 million in the US, a brutal number for a film with Disney's name on it. Globally, it scraped together $87 million. Compare that to past live-action remakes like The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast, and the numbers are a disaster. This wasn't just underwhelming. It was catastrophic. Disney had invested heavily, and what they got back was a public embarrassment. Worse, all that press, good or bad, didn't translate into interest. It drained buzz, killed excitement. The controversy didn't drive curiosity, it drove people away. And when a film fails this publicly, someone gets blamed.
Disney is having its own problems. They're finally releasing the latest adaptation of Snow White, but they're scaling back the Hollywood premiere of the film. Kinsey, why is that?
Because Rachel Zegler is a PR.
Here's where things get messy. Some critics say Rachel Zegler was doomed from the start. That no actress, no matter how talented, could have saved this movie. The film was too far from what audiences wanted. Too much of a rebrand. Too little of what made Snow White magical in the first place. Others argue that it didn't have to go this way. A different actress, one with more warmth, more love for the original, and a less combative tone could have bridged the gap. Could have reassured fans. Could have made the changes feel less jarring. The truth? Probably somewhere in the middle. Rachel didn't write the script. She didn't decide to cut the dwarves. But she became the face of all those decisions. And when things went south, she didn't de-escalate. She poured gasoline on the fire.
Given all the behind-the-scenes mayhem, I expected a Frankenstein's monster where scenes to be stitched together. I think a lot of these live-action updates are really hard to watch. They've really done so much stepping on rakes over the last few months with this project where the box office is just not going to recover.
Hello, Disney. You're going to have to redo your film again because this woman is a pig and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
I think it's fair to say that no one can stand the star of this movie.
At the heart of all this is a deeper issue, a growing disconnect between Hollywood and its audience. Studios want to push messages. Fans just want a good story. Somewhere along the line, that balance got lost. Snow White became the latest casualty in a string of remakes that felt more like lectures than entertainment. Zegler's involvement just amplified it. Whether fairly or not, she became the symbol of everything people are frustrated with. The tone-deaf interviews, the political posturing, the sense that Hollywood thinks it knows better than its audience. That's the million-dollar question. Some stars bounce back from a bomb, others don't. For Rachel, the road forward won't be easy. Not because she isn't talented, she is, but because this wasn't just a flop. It was personal, public, viral. She didn't just star in a failed movie. She became the story, the backlash, the meme, the warning sign. In recovering from that, it's going to take more than a great performance. It'll take humility, a tone shift, a realignment with the audience she lost. Because the truth is, people don't hate Rachel Zegler. They just feel like she never listened, never understood why the backlash happened in the first place. Maybe the real tragedy here isn't just a bad movie. It's that a young actress with huge potential got caught in the crossfire of Hollywood's identity war. A war between nostalgia and rebranding, storytelling and messaging, audience love and studio ego. Was Rachel Zegler set up to fail? Or did she help write her own downfall? That's the question everyone's asking, and the answer might define where her career goes from here. Let us know what you think in the comments.